Welcome back to another episode of the Ben McGreevy Sports Podcast. On today's episode, we talk about the Nashville Predators and how they have been successful in their last 10 games. Is it real? Is it fake? Do we think this can continue? What is contributing to the Predators playing at this level? And then we talk about our three biggest shocks of the season so far. So Heath and Cole join me, and we're going to walk through all that together. So let's get into it on today's episode of the Ben McGreevy Sports Podcast. Alrighty, today we have Heath with us. Heath, how you doing? How's life for you right now?
Pretty good. Not too busy, so it's been pretty good.
Not too busy. Now, okay, for those of you who don't know, and Heath, you might not want to share this, but I'm going to throw it out there. Heath flies airplanes. Are you how busy is Christmas season for pilots at this time?
Well, right now, I normally average about 18 to 20 days off a month, but this month I was only allotted 13. So, yeah.
That is huge. 18 to 20 days off a month are everyone should become pilots, but then nobody would fly airplanes or fly in airplanes for travel. So they would, but it would be on the airline. So that's probably good that we're not, but that's a great setup. But I guess you have to be away whenever you're not flying. Cole, how are things in your world right now?
They are just wonderful. Just working my life away, being a dad, and watching hockey and enjoying the end of football season.
Absolutely. Our boy Hendon Hooker just got snubbed from being a Heisman finalist.
After being named SEC Offensive Player of the Year, while Stetson Bennett didn't even make second all-team for the SEC. Blows my mind.
And somehow, anyways, that is irritating. We're a bunch of Tennessee fans excited for the Vols to play Clemson in the Orange Bowl.
It's going to be fun.
But that's crazy. Hey, today we bought our tickets for the Nashville Predators at Washington Capitals game on January the 6th in Washington, D.C. So we'll probably do a podcast on, so keep on the lookout. We're going to do a podcast on after we go to that, and we'll just spend the entire podcast talking about the Washington Capitals game experience and our trip there. That way you can kind of be hey, if you want to plan a trip to Washington, D.C., here's what we did, here's our experience and that type of thing. So be on the lookout for that, but also be on the lookout. We'll do a video of going to that game and that arena and everything like that. I know that the viewers on this channel love the Panthers arena has a ton of views, and the Vegas arena and the Arizona arena. You got the Yoch jersey up here tonight. So I know that is a very popular video. So we'll do one of those and looking forward to doing that. But today we're going to have a decently short pod, I think, unless we just really start talking a lot. We are going to start out talking about the Nashville Predators. In the last 9 games, the Nashville Predators are a whopping 7-2. I love how we have the stat of in the last 9, they're 7-2. In the last 10, they're 7-2-1. They are sitting 1 point out of a playoff spot, but they have 2 games in hand on the Edmonton Oilers, who are only 2 points ahead of them in the standings. And they have a game in hand on the Minnesota Wild, who are also only 2 points ahead of them in the standings. Guys, what do you guys think about the last 10 games for the Nashville Predators, which have come since we absolutely trashed on them on the last podcast? What do y'all think?
You know what? Having games in hand, you can thank the Bridgestone Arena water main break for that, because we really wouldn't if it wasn't for that. But just kind of getting back to the wins, all the players that we were talking about at the beginning of the season that weren't producing are starting to produce. Roman Josi's looking better. Very pleased with the progression of Mikael Granlund and Ryan Johansson. They both scored several goals in the past 10 games. So Forsberg's scoring goals. Duchesne is scoring goals. So your guys that you're paying a lot of money, they're starting to come around and play for their money's worth.
Yeah, I agree. And I think a notable or a large kind of asset here that the Predators needed to get going was Juuse Saros has finally came back to kind of himself. That was kind of a big sore spot for them in the first 10, 15 or 10 or so games. He did not look like himself.
That's what I was gonna comment on. I was gonna comment on UC Saros. He's been unbelievable in the last and I should have already had this pulled up, but in the last 10 games, he has shown up. And then also Lankinen has been so good. Heath, I know we've thrown goalie stuff at you somewhat, but I want you to give give your goalie breakdown of Saros and Lankinen through the last what you've seen out of them as the Predators have started. And I know Saros has had a majority of those starts, but what have you seen out of him that has changed, and how has he gotten better?
Saros, we see this every year. The first 10 or so games, he seems to struggle to find his style of play, his game. Pucks aren't bouncing right. And a lot of, some of it's luck, can he get the right bounce? But I think he's really tracking the puck well. I think you saw in those first 10 games, he was allowing a lot of rebounds too. The rebounds that he is allowing right now, it seems like he's actually being able to cover his area that he needs to cover. Whereas previously, he had almost no shot. He was kind of just down and out of the play. Lankinen, I think in every start he's had so far this season, he's done very well. I think the other night when he had 48 saves or something similar to that?
48 or 49.
Career high.
Something up there in the high 40s. And to have a backup like that is fantastic, because it can take a little bit of pressure off UC Saros where he doesn't. Because hate to say it, last year when you put in David Riddick, no, the other way around. When you put Saros in, he has to win a game, because if David Riddick's in, you're probably not going to win. So it takes a lot of pressure off the starting goalie, at least, to be able to go out there and perform at such a high level of play.
That's a huge point, because you can probably ride Lankinen for 30 games this year if you wanted, just to keep Saros healthy. Since November the 10th, which is when the Nashville Predators started their last 10 games, the best goaltender in the league by save percentage has been UC Saros. The best goaltender in the league with goals against average, Saros is in the top 5 of guys who have played more than one game. So what you're looking at is Saros has come alive. Let's kind of move on. We've looked, and Cole, you're totally right about Granlund and Johansson and those guys. Do we think that this is the real Nashville Predators, or is the real Nashville Predators the people we saw starting the season here in Nashville?
I think it's hard to say that the team we saw at the beginning of the year is what we expected, when a lot of this roster is compiled of veteran players that we've seen play at a very high level, including Saros, and they're capable of playing better. And they've really shown that, like you said, since about November 12th is when that switch kind of turned, and they've been playing better defensively, which has really helped out Saros and Lankinen. But I think now we're seeing the capability of what Preds fans expected, because there's been a lot of these guys that have been on the roster since 2015, 16, 17. So that group should know how to play together and play well. So.
Yeah, I agree. I think the team that we saw in the first, October, November, first half of November, I guess, or even, those first 3 games in November, I think a lot of it stemmed off their goaltending. They weren't getting scoring either, but they were allowing quite a few goals too, which doesn't help. That puts a lot of pressure on your offense to kind of score. They have to put up 3 or 4 goals a night to even win a game, but they weren't playing well on defense either. I think now that we're seeing some good goaltending, they actually can kind of feel like they can play a little bit looser and actually make some different plays.
Yeah, I was looking at some of the losses that we had from October and the beginning of December, and what you said about the offense having to score more goals to outscore giving up so many. Our losses in October were 5-1, 4-1, 3-5, 0-3, 4-7, 4-7 again. 1-5, 3-5. So you're giving up an average of 4 goals a game. You can't win like that.
Yeah, no chance. And now what you do is you turn it around, and suddenly you really are getting to a point where, hey, you are winning games. I thought this was interesting. I mentioned the last 10 games goes back to November the 10th versus Colorado. They tried the McDonagh Josi pairing either on the 15th of November or the 17th of November, one of those two, for the first time. And since then, Saros has been better. The defense has been way better, and scoring has picked up. That has needed to have been a change for a while now, and I'm so pumped that they made that change on the blue line. I thought that was a huge game changer there. I think that this is a situation where obviously the Nashville Predators are hot right now. I don't know that they're a cup contender, but what I do know is that when we started this season, everyone kind of looked at them and thought, okay, they're a solid playoff team, probably a Central Division playoff team, not even a wild card. Right now, to me, they're playing like that third Central Division team. Like, they're playing better than Minnesota, and they're definitely playing, I don't know. It's going to be hard to see where they slot, but if they keep playing like this, I don't know. Like, I could see them getting a pretty good playoff spot. And if you get a good playoff opponent, who knows what you can do in the playoffs? Obviously, that's a long way away. Let's just enjoy the season a little bit. But I've been very, very impressed by them since they've started playing. I still get incredibly frustrated by John Hines, and I need to. Obviously, we're frustrated with him. We were saying, do you need to change him? What do you have to do? All these type of things earlier in the year. There were certain moments where I still just question what he does. Like there was the Predators allowed a goal in a game recently, and it was like it was a shorthanded goal, and the power play unit they had out there had like Jankowski and Cole Smith, and it was like, what are you doing, John Hines? Like, why are those guys? Why is that your option? Why are you letting those guys be the guys who are playing? I don't understand that. I'm still struggling to understand that. I would love to sit down with him and just say, hey, what's your theory on this? But there's some decisions that he's made in the lineup in big moments in games. And by the way, do I still think Tomasino should be playing in the NHL? Yes. Like, do I think that there's some guys in the lineup right now who shouldn't be in the lineup? Yes, but they're winning games. Don't change it while you're winning. I don't know. I think that the lines are starting to come together a little bit. The Johansson Niederreiter stuff, it looks good. I'm loving watching. We haven't talked enough about Juuso Parssinen, but I love that kid. He looks like a legitimate NHLer that was drafted in the 7th round in 2019. So I'm loving that. And honestly, we could have done an entire show about Juuso Parssinen coming and kind of cementing himself in the lineup. He hasn't scored a lot recently, but he's a part of this team that I have loved watching. And every time he touches the puck, it's like, oh, what's he going to do here type thing. And that's what I've loved about him.
Yeah, completely agree. And kind of going back to what you were saying about the playoffs, obviously last season was disappointing getting swept, but even with a healthy Saros, there was no team that was going to stop Colorado. So of all the years for him to get injured at that time, let's hope it's the only time that happens. But I'm glad it was this past year. So yeah, but I'm definitely enjoying what we're getting to watch right now.
And if Lankinen is your guy, you're in a way better spot than if Riddick's your
He
guy.
feels so much better this year than last year. It felt like when Riddick went in last year, you were like, well, the game's over. there's no hope. Even if our guys score, he's going to let in a beach ball. And it doesn't feel like that this year.
Big time. Big time. All right, let's take our next step to kind of our closing thoughts here on the pod tonight. We're going around the room. We're starting with Heath. We're going to go to me, and we'll close out with Cole. What our biggest surprise of the year has been? Is it a player? Is it a team that's winning or losing? So Heath, what has been your biggest surprise in the 2022-23 season up to this point?
I think mine would be the Dallas Stars. I mean, they had a decent team on paper. They got a new coach. I'm just shocked that they're sitting at the top of the Central Division with a 14-6-5 record and 33 points. Now, granted, I don't think they've been the best in the last 10 at sitting at 5-1-4, but they've only lost one regulation game in that time. So, and I mean, they're getting scoring out of, older guys too. I mean, Jason Robertson's obviously 41 points, 23 goals, 18 assists, but Jamie Benn, 26 points, Tyler Sagan, 19 points. I mean, Joel Pavelski, 28 points. And they're getting some good goaltending too from Jake Ottinger. So, I mean, I was just shocked at the fact that they're sitting in first in the Central right now.
Jason Robertson is playing at a McDavid, Draisaitl level point production, and he plays for the Dallas Stars by himself.
He's carrying that team.
That is
offensively
unbelievable.
25 games, 41 points.
I mean, that is another level. Unbelievable. All right, for me, my biggest shock of the season, and this is a weird, I struggle with this because there were several things that I could have said. One, New Jersey Devils have obviously been shocking. Two, Seattle Kraken have obviously been shocking. Heath, I agree, the Dallas Stars have been shocking. Those are all teams that were bad that could have been good. And Cole, you might mention one of those for sure. The team that I was going to bring up is the New York Rangers.
Yeah.
The Rangers are 4-4-1 in their last 10. They've played 3 games more than Nashville and have less wins. The Rangers should have been, with their forwards, defensemen, and goaltending, the Rangers should have been a top 5 team in the NHL this year. They were kind of my Stanley Cup final pick. Like, hey, they're going to be the sleeper team out of the East. And not even a sleeper team. Like, they were kind of like, hey, this is the team out of the East. Like, they should be unbeatable. And they aren't winning anything. Trouba, their captain, is their captain. He doesn't have a goal this year. They're 26 games in. The Rangers fans are mad. The players are frustrated out of their minds. And I don't know what their next step is, but the Rangers have shocked me this year. I thought they were going to be incredible. They're fun to watch, but man, they can't win a game. And that is shocking to me. So that has been my biggest shock of the year. I think I also thought Ottawa would be better. They're worse than I thought they would be. But yeah, so that is my shock of the year so far. Cole, what are you looking at?
You can't give Ottawa enough first round picks to ever expect them to be good. Mine is kind of random, but I really just didn't expect Seattle to be as good as they are this year. They're sitting second in the Pacific behind Vegas with 33 points. And I'm still on the fence. Are they legit or are they fake? I guess we'll see as the season goes on. If they're still going to hold on to that second playoff spot or even make playoffs. If they make playoffs, that's awesome with how young that team is. Is this the second year of the Kraken? Yeah. So that's been my biggest shock. Martin Jones has been a big shock. I mean, he's played 18 games. He's 16 games. He's 12-4. That's pretty impressive. He has a 2.90 goals allowed. His save percentage is .893, so not great, but it's getting the job done. Burakovsky and Jordan Everly are kind of leading in points. So they're finding ways to get it done. Their scoring has been really spread out, though. They kind of remind me
Well,
of
real quick,
Nashville.
can I stop you for a second?
Yeah.
You just said that Martin Jones played 18 games, and it's not going to show on the video. And if you're listening, it's certainly not going to show. That just took me back. Like I was like, what? Like Martin Jones? I did not realize he was. I guess I
He's
just
the guy.
That blows me
Yeah.
away. Sorry, I interrupted. Go ahead and continue. You're
No,
on
no,
that.
no. And
no, you're making
it's
the
crazy. It's crazy because Philip Grubauer is the backup. And I'm like, that's two starting goalies and Martin Jones. I don't know. It's weird. But their scoring reminds me a lot of Nashville a few years ago, where nobody was the superstar. Everybody had to contribute for success. That's kind of where they are. I mean, their highest goal scorer has 10 goals. I mean, there's a lot of 8s and 9s and 7s in there. So it's been kind of interesting to watch them. And I've gotten to watch a few games, but man, Central Time, they come on so late most of the time that I just don't watch.
It's incredible.
So I'll see. I don't know if they're going to stay. I don't know if they're legit, but they're finding ways to win games. And at the end of the day, the points column's all that matters. So we'll see what happens.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, guys, I'll tell you what, we're like we mentioned at the start of this, we're going to keep it shorter tonight, but I will say this, there's a lot of hockey that we could talk as we get into the holidays and maybe can watch a little bit more. And then specifically as we get into like the January, February grind of the season, that'll be when we can really start digging into it a lot. But we will go ahead and wrap this bad boy up. Watch those teams. Let's keep our eye on Seattle, because Seattle's an interesting one for me as well. And I love that you brought the Kraken up. All right, guys, thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Thank you again so much for listening to today's episode. If you don't mind, please share it with a friend if you enjoyed it. And we would love to build this community of podcast listeners to the biggest number we could possibly get to. If you don't mind hitting the like and subscribe button if you're watching on YouTube, that is huge for the YouTube algorithm. It really helps pump this channel out to other people who might have similar interests as you. Thank you again for watching. We always appreciate it, and we'll see you next video.